Welcome back, Nerdiverse, for another episode of MOTN Reviews, where we always have such sights to show you. This infection of a podcast, get bit, get infected, can be found on YouTube, can be found on Twitch, can be found anywhere where podcasts are shown. I'm, of course, master of the Nerdiverse, Mike G. And back with me is my also undead master of the Nerdiverse, the Jedi Counselor himself. Wash, what's going on, sir?
What is up? Happy to be here. We are talking uh goats. We're talking goats today. You know what I mean? It's a goat type of day. It's one of those days you wake up and you're like, goat.
Goat! It's the goat! Like that one
Yeah,
meme. The goat!
the
This is our
goat.
this is our Halloween special. So one thing we celebrate around here is Halloween, dude. We go big every single year for Halloween. So for the month of October, all MOTN content will be Halloweenish on one way or another, actually building up to our Halloween spooktacular Friday night, October 31st, Halloween night. I might dress up. I know Wash is down to dress up. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have a spooktacular time.
I have no promises on any of that as I am a day by day type of individual.
Hey,
But I definitely think you need to get what is it? Some Count Chocula? Is that what they do? Is that the Halloween version? You know what I mean? Like that's a good way to go. I think you should have a bowl of that just sitting next to you.
dude, I got some witches brew Kit Kats, bro. They're like, you ever had a
Mm,
witches brew Kit Kat?
I
It
saw them. I
is
have not
so
had
good.
it. I have not had it.
Woo!
Yeah,
Oh,
all right.
listen to your boy Mike G.
Yeah.
Get you a bag of witches brew Kit Kats. They're like
I saw
marshmallow flavor.
I
It's
saw them
perfect,
last
dude.
year. Yeah, no, I would have to check that out on your recommendation.
Seasonal,
Is it a
seasonal.
goat?
It is a goat, just like these films here.
Oh.
So this was Wash's idea, actually, that we do a double feature, which is rare in the MOTN verse outside of our annual random select. So this isn't necessarily pitting these two goats together because there's no need to pit you know, these two bad bitches against each other. You know what I mean? These are two staples of the industry. We are, of course, talking about um, George Romero's own Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. Are you excited to talk about these two films, Wash?
Yeah, man. I am stoked. They are historic in nature, so it should be a riveting type of conversation. And zombies. For some reason, zombies just scratch that itch for me. So I don't know if it's the mass hysteria, the hopelessness, the zombies. I have no idea what it is, but yeah, I'm excited to be here. And yeah, go.
Same here. Let's talk about some zombies with an X, bro. We're talking about zombies, bro. You know what I mean? Like the ones in Great Britain. I want to talk about UK zombies. You know what I'm saying? Like 28 days later joints that run quick, not these slow bastards, dog. Before we get started, I always like to ask you guys if you are a fan of the channel, please remember to like our content on YouTube, like our content on TikTok. We put up shorts, we're putting up long form content as well. Comment, subscribe, show some love to the channel, help us grow. So before we jump in, just want to give those quick plugs. Without further ado, let's talk some zombies. But before we talk zombies, I want to take a second to just give homage and just give props to the history of George Romero. This man was a pioneer on a shoestring budget. Do you know anything about this man or his history?
I know about his filmography. The man himself,
Yes.
not as much. I know about his talents behind the camera and for story making, but no, I do not know a biography of Mr. Romero. Goat.
Yeah,
I may
it's one of
say
those
that one
things
more
where
time.
they'll hit it one more time before I get started.
Goat.
There you go. We need that sound clip, baby. Gout. This guy is such like salt of the earth directors. He's like reminds me of like John Carpenter and like even like a just really salted, like really just I have a camera, I got buddies, we got beers. Let's just make a movie, dude. You know what I mean? One story I love about him when he was filming Night of the Living Dead, and we'll talk about we can't not talk about Night, so that's coming up. You see, they filmed it on a shoestring budget, literally threw it in the trunk of a car, threw the live only version of it in the trunk of a car, and drove it to New York to play at some little hole in the wall theater
It's
the
amazing.
night. And what's crazy is that the same night they got there was the night that Martin Luther King had died. It was like this
Oh
weird
my God.
mission of like what he was trying to say and what the world was saying. So he's always had his finger on the pulse of like where the culture was, where the country was. Just a director beyond his time. You know what I mean? Just overall, just and when you hear the guy talk, he's just so sweet and tries to be, and he's funny, and he's just really charismatic. He's always been sweet to the fans that go want to shake his hand because he's so, like you said, he's just a goat, man. He's just, I've never seen a disparaging word against Mr. Romero.
No, never. Not once. And I can't even believe you said such a thing. Like it would never even strike my mind that someone would say something negative
Negative
about
to
this
this
man.
guy.
Like, nah,
Crazy, right?
all right, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
he's like the Willy,
he
he's
did
like the Willy
he
Wonka of horror, dude.
he did make some weird shit. That said. So
Hey.
moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Him, Wes Craven, to be the sweetest guys with the darkest minds. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, man.
holy crap, dude. So just
I'd
shout
like
outs,
to
Wes.
have coffee with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Pick his brain for a bit. That'd be great.
I love to have a beer with the guy, pick his brain, just talk shop. Talk about his influences. I love to have 5 minutes with the bro. You know, what I mean. Rest in peace, right? Rest in peace. George Romero, he is missed but never forgotten. Speaking of never be forgotten, before we jump into our double feature, I couldn't help myself. We got to talk about Night. We got to talk about the first film in this dead trilogy. Wash, what is your experience with Night of the Living Dead? Do you remember the first time you saw it? Were you affected by it?
I don't think I want to say I was affected by it. I got to night a tad bit later in life, probably ninth grade. Tenth grade was my first type of experiment with Night of the Living Dead. And I had found Night through probably Tales from the Crypt. Speaking of
Mm.
Romero and just some of his work, you know what I mean? That's probably how that happened. Is I saw that and I kind of went back and went to see what the deal was. And I love this film. This is a beautifully shot film from open to closing bell. It is a classic horror film. In my terms of horror, I'm not sure that I go to it for that, but for a a visual a visual representation of like what a zombie apocalypse would feel like. This does a very good job of like if you like went to a museum and you were watching it, like this could be in a museum. It is such a beautifully shot film. You know what I mean? Just running. Oh yeah, this is our zombie section where we look at how American life was trash through the zombie apocalypse and it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah, very and I'm gonna about more of this when we talk about Dawn. Is he has a very documentarian eye, right? It doesn't feel like a movie. It doesn't. The beats don't hit like a movie. Like it feels like you said this could have really happened, and this was a documentation of an event that actually happened in the earth at some point, right? And when it comes to Night, this is really like on my black and white Mount Rushmore, right?
Oh
It's like
yeah.
Gilligan's Island, The Munsters, Night of the
Ooh.
Living Dead, I Love Lucy, right? Like the top black and white things in my brain, that just live. And Night was one of those movies when I was a kid. I was more of a fan of Return of the Living Dead, the goofy one, brains and all that stuff. And this was always on in the background in my house. You know what I'm saying? Like my dad would be watching it or it would just be on. I was never really scared of it, right? Like affected, right? It didn't affect me until I was older, like in my 20s and 30s, where I watched it from an adult point of view and had to like empathize with the people. Like, yeah, I'm dead, dog. I'm just done. I'm not making it out of the situation.
When
I'm
the
gone,
zombie
bro.
apocalypse becomes real in your brain and you're like, ah.
Mm. Now see how the tables have turned, right? You
Right.
know what I mean? And just to give shout out to Night of the Living Dead, beautiful shot movie, the birth of a genre. You know,
I would have included it, but I mean, it's 3, we've seen it a dozen times.
I
I am
know,
not
I
shading
know, I
Night of the
know.
Living Dead at all. But I will bring up that there is a trilogy to this whole sequel that I was not quite aware existed. I had heard about, but I wasn't really sure existed. And now I know it does exist. And now I'm like, man, we probably should have watched that first one and just did all
But
6.
true.
But
And that's why
that's
I felt like I really I couldn't leave it out, bro. Like I could
ah,
there's no way, right? And the meat of this is Dawn of the Dead. The meat of this is Day of the Dead. But how do you leave out how? You can't do it, right?
I did not think you would, and we don't talk about these things as they're made. You know what I mean? So I was fully prepared for you to be like, yeah, night, of course.
And what's funny and kind of the crux of this episode, ladies and gentlemen, is that I have never seen in its totality Dawn or Day of the Dead at all. Never seen them. I've only seen Night all the way through. So I figured this was the perfect
Wait,
time.
wait, wait.
Never,
Never seen them the whole
never,
way through. So
bro.
this is a brand new review for
Yeah,
MOTN. Oh, this is gonna be a good
bro.
one. All right,
I
all
watched.
right.
You want to know how fresh this is? I was
Yes.
watching this while at work today. I was literally I double backed I double backed Dawn at 8 in the morning. Ran that through lunchtime. Day of the Dead. Ran that through. It's about time to go to work. Go home. Right. So I literally watched these hours ago. Of course, you know about the movies. You've seen the clips. You know all the. But it's different watching it and understanding the context of these images. And we start, of course, in chronological order, talking about Let's Go Shopping. Let's talk about Dawn of the Dead, man. This movie is a trip, dude. Um,
Yes, and I just want to say that I may mix up the title, so I call them 78 and 84 because it's just easier for me. It's like
hey,
I was making my notes. I'm like, which one am I talking about? I don't know. So,
yeah,
78. Dawn of the Dead, right?
yep.
Dawn?
It
Oh,
goes
okay.
night, dawn, day. Hmm.
Night, dawn, day. Okay. Night, dawn, day. Okay, I got it. Okay,
Yep,
I got it.
yep.
All right. So moving on. Yes. This is a great movie. Like, as soon as the opening bell hits, my brain, and just a bit of background, I've seen both these movies probably about 3, 4 times. They've been on in the background at various, Halloween parties, or you're sitting in a bar during Halloween and it's on. So I've seen them, but I've never watched them like this close together. That's for certain, and that was like 24 to 36 hours apart. But that opening bell scene, I could not help but think about that damn game, PlayStation. What's the game? What's the
The
zombie
Last of
game?
Us. The Last
No,
of Us.
the with the ball.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Go.
Thank you. Thank you. That was going to
Yes.
be my biggest takeaway is that Dead Rising by Capcom
Yes.
is Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
It just is. Full Cell ripoff. Like I was watching this movie and was like, this is just Dead Rising.
My
Down to the
brain,
comedic. Yeah.
my brain didn't connect it until it started, and I was like,
This is just it is like it's beat for beat Dead Rising. You know what I mean? You see I've never seen such a clean influence outside of like Metroid and damn Aliens. You know what I'm saying? Like it's such a modern take on this where it's literally it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's mounds of zombies, there's vehicles, there's a mall. It's just Dead Rising, bro.
it's a reporter. You know what I mean?
It's
Like
a reporter.
it's a reporter. Like it's so on the nose that when I was watching it, and I'm not going to turn this into a Dead Rising podcast, but it's like like
You
I've
just
played Dead Rising a couple of
yeah.
times. Did you know that they were associated like this? Like this
No,
is a
because
known thing?
I never seen this movie like that,
Uh,
right?
it,
Like I've known of Dawn of the Dead. I knew it
yeah,
was in the mall. I never made the correlation until I saw the tone of this film. This film doesn't take itself seriously. Has goofy music. There's really weird, whimsical moments of it. And it's just they're trying on clothes. What does Frank West do? He changes costumes. He tries on goofy things. They use all types of weird attacks on the zombies. You know what I mean? And they're just fodder. There's millions of them, so they're just fodder. And I was like, this is the cleanest wholesale ripoff. And I love Capcom, right? But you got to call a spade, dude. Like this, their influences are so strong, and I get it. This movie is iconic,
yeah.
bro. You know what I mean? Everything from the big. You know what this movie did to me when I first started watching it is that first 10-15 minutes was just pure panic, and that got me. That's probably my favorite part of the film is that first 10-15 minutes where everyone's freaking the hell out
In the
and the people on the
newsroom,
newscaster
reporters. Yeah,
are arguing with each other. Like, you got to drop the BS, dude. This is not the
yeah.
time. Like, we're all gonna die, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? And people are just scrambling and stuff. And no, the scene where they go into the apartment buildings and they just start breaking down people's doors and ripping apart family. That seems so real. That felt visceral. You know what I'm saying? Like
The
that's happened.
apartment the apartment is terrifying. The apartment
It's
is the one throughout both these films because we are kind of talking about these in kind of a basket.
yeah,
Like that apartment sequence, you are so like if you've lived in an apartment like that, if you're from the
it's
80s to
it's
70s,
tight.
you
It's
it's
tight.
tight, man. You know it's tight and you're just like, this is not a good
Not
situation." And you know, Romero does a great fantastic job of building this tension in this playful, weird zombie film. You know what I mean? Because we're not
yeah.
getting zombies right now at first, and when the zombies actually happen, it's kind of like, oh shit, there's zombies, and then it's like, oh shit, there's
It's
zombies.
the zombies are a weird afterthought, right? It's like the
Mm,
human element that makes this movie so
yeah.
great to me. And that apartment scene is very Left for Dead, right? It's very
Oh yeah.
wreck where you're in this tight corridor. These police are like, you know, ice levels of like ruining people's lives. And oh crap, there's an infected. Someone accidentally gets a bit on the neck, bro. And like it's just mayhem for the beginning of the movie. And I didn't know that even existed. I thought it started in the mall. And it's a
Uh,
whole beginning of the movie where they get to the mall. You know what I mean? They got to find the other people. They're hiding out in some house somewhere. You get to see Middle America. You know what I'm saying? You know, with their guns and their skull, and they're having a good ass time killing people
yeah.
indiscriminately. And the way he shoots it, it's so deaf, but it's so loud. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yes.
like we've had this in us the entire time. You know what I mean? We just look, and these people just needed an excuse to pull out their guns, and they made a party of it, dude. They were having a
Yeah, dude.
party of it.
Yeah, and I'm from the Midwest, so I'm not disparaging my Midwestern people, but in a real situation, and unfortunately, I didn't do my zombie history because I'm like, what do we know about zombies up to this point, just in history, like film history? And it's like, dude, don't we
Not a lot.
know? Don't we know not to go to like trapped in places? But anyway, the Midwestern scene would strike me as something that would be fairly reasonable that would happen. Like I can definitely see more people than I know grabbing a gun and being like, "Oh, I get in a
Hell
movie."
yeah, brother. Cake Kona, brother. Let's go get us some
Uh,
zombies, brother.
South Park, the dude, it's coming right for me. Now, pow,
It's
you know
coming
what I
right for
mean?
me. Pow. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
like
crazy, dog.
so, yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to Dawn of the Dead is satire over substance, right? Because this movie does a really good job at balancing, like you said, the goofy with I'm trying to tell you a metaphor. You know what I mean? When you hear satire versus substance, do you think this movie does a good balance of the slapstick versus you need to hear this message because it's really ruining us as a society?
At the time, I would say no. Like at 78, if I went to the theater, I would no, I don't get it. Looking back on it in 2025 and just, you can drive by a mall now and this thing is empty and it's like, man, is
Ew.
that- you, there's a lot of things that go along with it, both good and bad. But at the exact same time, I'm not sure that when you're watching this movie, that message, the substance is screaming to me. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
I get it. Again, it's kind of on the nose. We're in the mall, but you're shopping, but at the same time, it's not taking itself so seriously. Not like our other movie, Day of the Dead, which takes itself a tad bit more seriously
More
in that
seriously.
in that manner. So this not as much. No.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about it more, but it's almost like if you watch these movies in a row, you can see Romero's frustration with America the more you get to it. Like, oh, you didn't hear me the first time. I'm going to double down. Oh, you're still not listening to me. Day of the Dead is like just get knocking us over the head with the metaphor, right? But I think this movie is the my porridge is just right of the three, where it's that perfect balance of I'm not going to beat your head over the fear of consumerism and blind obedience and all that crazy, what he's talking about versus let's just shoot some zombies in the head with some sweet, Tom Savini gore effects. You know what I'm saying? So I think this movie does a really good way to balance its story, and that's a plus. We don't want it to beat us over the head, right? You want it to be subtle. It reminds me of, and you mentioned, like if I saw this back when it came out, I wouldn't have got the metaphor right over my head, right? But it's like think about Godzilla. Nobody would have thought Godzilla was a metaphor for World War II and the dropping of Hiroshima. They just said, "Ooh, cool, giant kaiju." You know what I'm saying? That rules. It looks cool. It took 30 years for us to figure out all the metaphors and things like that. So I think those kind of things take time. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're just a galaxy brain, but it's not
Or it's
what.
hitting you over the head with it, like
Mm,
the couple of your recent movies that you've discussed in podcasts. Check out our Friday shows. But
do it.
yeah, I don't think that's this. I think that they take a moment or two to address it, but they quickly move on, such as the shopping scene, for instance, and just how
Yes.
utterly like ridiculous it is that you're like, oh, how about a mink coat in the middle of a freaking zombie apocalypse? You know what I mean? There are just other matters to deal with.
It's and that's what I mean by satire versus substance. Like there's a scene where Fly Girl is at a skating rink inside the mall and she's skating by herself in a circle and it's telling two stories. It's satire. Oh, she's just taking advantage of the situation. She gets to skate all day. Substance. She's isolating herself from the real world. You know what I mean? Hell is going on outside, but I'm gonna ice skate because I can ice skate. Like you said, the shopping sequence. When the Raiders show up and they're taking the fruits of the mall for granted and having a good old time, bashing zombies over the head and making a game of it. It's both like, what are we doing to ourselves versus guns and zombie explosions. So it makes you think without, it's very subliminal the way kind of, he beats you over the head, but he also gives you Novocaine first so you can't feel it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's kind of how it feels. He's bonking you, but he already hit you with the Novocaine. So you're
Yeah,
like,
that's
I,
funny.
I feel nothing.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
funny.
nothing. So
Right.
keep, keeping things moving along. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine, dude. Let's
Well,
talk about a good old Bub, dude. I didn't know how real Bub was until I finally seen this movie, dog. Let's t- let's talk about Day of the Dead. All these movies feel different. They feel like they're made from different directors to me because their tones are so radical. Like you said, like Night of the Dead reads as like a documentary, right? Day of the Dead, I mean Dawn of the Dead reads as like a satire-ish commentary. This reads as like a dystopian. We're all gonna die. There's no hope. Screw this mess. What do we do now? Type situation.
I had issues with this from the word go because it was set too loud. When you talk about Romero, I hadn't considered it till now because I wasn't really looking through when I was watching the films. I wasn't looking for that. You know what I mean? I wasn't looking for the message. I was looking at a zombie film. And when you talk about um, um, Romero uh, bashing us over the head with it, the volume of Day of the Dead is so loud from the word go. Everyone's just yelling
Yeah,
nonstop. And I have sensitive ears. I am sensitive to that type of behavior just from my experiences living by the 405. Like I'm just sensitive to
for
noise. You
real.
know what I mean? And so it's on and it was beating me like 20 minutes in and people are just still yelling and I'm just like we're starting like this is the start of this thing, you know what I mean? So I hadn't considered it, but yeah, I mean, people weren't getting the point, and th- he had a message for this for sure, a definite message.
That's a very good call out, Wash. That it's not just thematically loud. The people are loud. This is my monkey farm now, Frankenstein. Like that dude was screaming the entire time. Everybody was
And
just
the, and
screaming their points.
his number one was screaming. He was the first one who started because it starts with them in the deal, pretty much starting to deal with the zombies, and so going out to get one, and he just starts like yelling and banging on
Yelling.
stuff, and then the machine guns start going, and it's cranked up to 10, and I'm literally like,
Like I'm
what?
getting a headache watching this, dude.
And I'm
Like,
watching I'm not watching the Blu-ray version of these movies, which by the way, folks, buy physical because I guarantee you it has to be a more beautifully shot film than the 420 version that I watched. So, um, yeah, the sound was so loud from the word go.
yeah, just shout out. There's no way to watch Dawn of the Dead streaming right now. I had to watch it on YouTube. Like that's how I
Yeah,
watched it. I couldn't even buy it. It's crazy. So get like buy physical because digital is finite. But
and not that conversation. Sorry, you tricked me. I was like, oh, I'm about to.
sorry,
It's not
I didn't mean to
Friday.
trigger you.
Moving
I didn't
on.
mean to
Yeah,
trigger
well,
you.
it's not
I didn't mean to,
Friday. We can move on.
yeah,
That's fine.
we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the beginning of this movie and how it's like I just got, mind you, when I watched this, I was just off the heels of Dawn. They were like, "Hey, we have this chopper. How much gas is in it? I don't know. We'll figure it out." End of the movie. You don't know the fate of Fly Girl and what's his face, right? And then you cut to this movie. It's like, well, yeah, they're dead. Nobody made it, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the streets are completely empty. Zombies are just kind of hello. The movie opens with screaming, "Are you there? Hello!" And freaking alligators are walking down the street and shit, dude.
I
It's like
I had forgotten
total
about that shot. I was like, oh, that's wicked, man. That's cool.
beautiful shot,
Yeah,
dude. Like the first
yeah.
thing you see is this crazy gore effect where some dude's tongue just, you know, deteriorates out of his mouth. Day of the Dead. You know, it's like, yeah, nobody made it, bro. We're all out of effect. You know what I mean? This may be the last pod of humans on Earth type dystopia. And then, like you said, we get to the scene where they're in that weird, almost like underground tunnel, and they're having to hoard the zombies in. And his second in command, I think his name was Steel or something like that. It's just screaming at the top. He's literally doing guttural barbarian screams into the echoed tunnel, like, come get this dick. He's like saying all types of crazy stuff.
I
And I'm like,
remember
what is this, dog? This is
I
crazy.
remember thinking because he was standing around the second fly girl. Sorry, I don't have their names in front of me. I did, but it's not up. At any rate, um, and he's literally just yelling as he walks around their head, and he's just yelling. And I'm like, how many times did they have to shoot that man? Because I couldn't. I just couldn't. That was too much yelling. It's like, why are we? There's eight of us in a bunker.
In an
Why are
enclosed
we
bunker
yelling at the top of our blanket
because
lungs?
you're not listening, dog.
Yeah, because
I,
you're not.
I listening. Romero was so tired of us by day, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, This movie is talking. This movie. One thing I like about this movie that it does that other movies doesn't do. They're actually talking about the zombies. It's not just this external force. They're like, okay, how do these things work, man? Okay, so this part of the brain. I think this is the part of the brain that actually triggers it. They're not fueled by hunger. They're not fueled by anything but this reptilian part of our brain that just wants to survive. You know what I mean? And the lady is like, the main scientist, she's like, yeah, a lot of your theories aren't sound, bro. You're not like you're playing like you're playing in the sand, Frankenstein. You're not doing anything. And it's like so crazy because he's really not. You know what I'm saying? Frankenstein's supposed to be this great scientist, but he's not solving anything. He's just playing
No,
with his food in a way.
no.
And I understand the frustration of the soldiers, but they're such dickheads, you can't really side with them. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I get it. We're all like, what are you doing to get us out of this situation? Absolutely nothing.
And I want to say that Romero pulled me in both sides because I was very tired of the military dudes in this one. Like they were
Yeah,
old,
they're
right?
such a pain
But
in
at
the
the
ass.
same
Yeah.
time, it's like I get what they're saying. Like what exactly is it that you're doing that we're doing, and why are we just sitting here and not taking care of this problem? Which is it brings me back to though, what do we know about zombie culture? You know what I mean? Today, you
No,
and me, it's like, all right, we in the zombie apocalypse. If you go run into a bunker, like you got to have a plan to get out. You can't just sit in a bunker. You know what I mean? It's kind of a bad plan. Both these plans, part part 2 and part 3, 78 and 84. No,
not good
I'm not
plans.
down. I'm not down.
No,
I'm not down with the
but it's like,
plans. Even though I do like what you said with the examination of the zombies themselves, because I want to say I don't I don't think we've seen too many movies where zombies are trying to
no,
be trained ever.
we get
Like
it a little bit. And the other, remember, Romero made that John Leguizamo zombie movie in like the 2000s.
that's the one I
Forget the
haven't
name of
seen.
it.
That's the three of them. Yes.
Yeah,
That's the
it's
three of them.
called
Land
like
of the
Land
Land
of
of
the
the Dead.
Dead,
Yeah.
where they're kind of going into like these things are learning, right? These zombies are starting to grow cognizance again. So I think this was like the birth of that, where it's like the goat bub here is learning how to turn on a record player. He's learning how to fire a gun. He's learning how to salute. He's learning how to talk. So this is kind of the birth of that. And Land of the Dead was kind of like the natural transition into it. Where now Ramel's talking about like the lower class and 9/11, and you know what I mean, his whole thing. Land of the Dead is a completely different podcast. That's a whole can of worms. You know what I'm
I haven't
saying?
seen it. So okay, I didn't know it
Maybe
existed.
yes, but but that answers your question.
Yeah.
Yes, we do kind of go into that in the future films, but for this one, it's kind of like, oh, they can be taught, kind of. They can be domesticated, kind of. Um,
I
but
don't want to domesticate them.
what are we gonna do is if we shoot those mothers in their heads? You know, this my man was on like Jesus. You know, that guy was on tilt the entire time. My man had team no chill to the nth degree.
Team no chill, bro.
My man didn't want to
Yeah.
hear nothing about nothing, bro. There's that scene where I need you to sit back in your chair. I'm not doing shit, right? This dude points a gun at his homie, like you need to shoot her, or I'm gonna shoot you. You think I'm playing around, bro? You had to assert dominance, dog. Like he was such a like I said, I get the soldier side of things, but they're such pricks that
Yeah.
it makes it hard to root for them. So I think this is a good segue into our other slide for Day of the Dead. No guts, no glory. And I did that perfectly because I wanted to censor that so we don't get stung on YouTube. So all the good parts are blocked by the yellow spot. But I just wanted to talk about one thing we haven't talked about is the gore of these films, the meaty, chunky nastiness of the visceral, like approach to these zombie movies that are very rarely duplicated. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing grosser than a Tom Savini zombie movie. You know what I mean? It's iconic in its gross in its grotesquerie. Did these scenes bother you at all, Wash?
No, because I was watching them in low def. I'm sure if I had a better version, I probably would have been a tad bit more squeamish. But with what I was watching, I knew what was coming, so you know it all worked out. But that being said, it is a level of gore. Again, another idea in zombie film history. It's a level of gore that we don't see naturally in zombie movies, even though we probably should. Like these zombies, their hands have to have like the pressure of like steel freaking plate jacks. Like
Ugh.
like
You
they
know?
touch you and like you just
You just
melt. You
melt,
know what I
dog.
mean? Like it was like Indiana Jones when he opened up the freaking yes, his face melted off. That's what they touch him and like the
The
whole arm
shroud,
would just
they
break.
they're covered in shroud. They're covered in the shroud of the covenant, dog. They're just
Dude,
covered. They have shroud of the covenant fingers where it just melts into your face like Cassandra Nova, bro. Yeah, these zombies aren't playing, dog, because they have no concept of pain, so they could just dig into you with no issue. You know what I'm saying? And there's certain scenes that do kind of make you go, huh. Like there's a bite in the beginning of Dawn of the Dead where the black guy bites the black woman on the ankle, and you
uh,
can just see the meat kind of pull from the chunk of the. Like, how did they do that? You know, Tom Savini's the goat, right? And of course, this scene, choke on him, right? Choke on him, right? They're literally ripping my man's apart. Funny story about that scene is that to get the effects right, Tom Savini had to use actual pig intestines and pig
mm,
meat and mixed it with blood, right? Because you just couldn't, you can't fake that, right? It's real organs. The problem is that this is a movie set. So these pig organs weren't recycled out. These are just the ones they had. And it was a hot summer when they were making this movie. So those
ah,
started to open up. And after take after take after take, you know, it started to be so repulsive in that scene that all the zombies had to have their noses stopped up with gauze so they could not retch at the smell of these rotted pig intestines to get the
I,
scene right.
I do remember saying to myself, this is also a movie I didn't want to be a zombie in. There are some films where you're like, oh, I'll be a zombie or I'll be a vampire. This
But
is
that's
one of
cute.
those where you're like, no,
Mm-mm.
this is a full day's worth of work right here. This isn't good work. This is gonna be
No,
bad, nasty, like zombie work all day,
dirty
bro.
work, bro. It's gonna be thirsty work being a zombie in
Yeah,
this
man.
universe.
Like,
Hell
dude,
no. These
um,
zombies got busy, dog.
yeah. I will say that this specific death was very satisfying for me. Out of all of the deaths, this was satisfying when it happened because he's such an a-hole.
It's probably the best.
Unnecessarily a-hole.
It's the best death of the series, honestly, right? Like him getting literally ripped apart, and like you said, them building him up to be such a cantankerous human. Like, yeah, you have to go, bro. You have to go the hardest. You have to die hard. You know what I mean? Because you literally shot the homie in the head for no reason, just to prove a point. You know what I'm saying? And why? Okay, random question:
Mhm.
why were the soldiers so racist? They're all weirdly racist.
Because 70s and 80s, man, that's how that you gotta everybody's got some underlying racist joke going on, and
Jeez,
it's
man.
like, all
It's
right,
like
man.
I get why you guys are mad, but why do you have to be such assholes about it, dude? Like what are you wasting our what are you doing with my time? It's like, and to be honest, the scientists were putzing around. They didn't have any answers. We're all gonna die, bro. We're just gonna try to, it's like no one had answers. And that's what I love about these movies is that there is no, and that's what the pilot was saying. There's no solution to this, man. We did something to upset God, and now this is where we're at. He said, you over here trying to solve it. You don't solve the rain. You know what I'm saying? You don't solve the stars. They're
Yeah,
just this is what it is now. So why don't we just go on the beach, live out the rest of our days and chill, and that'll be the end of us, dog. Like you're over here trying to figure stuff out. You're getting us all killed. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? It makes that's like
I
the
mean,
most.
out of all the ideas I heard throughout both movies, that was the most reasonable of them. That went, yeah, that one actually makes some sense. I don't know what
Yeah.
the rest of y'all are doing.
Bro dropped knowledge the first 15 minutes of the movie. They were like, "What do you? Well, we'd love to hear your idea, Jamaican fly man. Let's go smoke some trees on an island. We'll get a chill. Let's go
Right.
smoke trees on an island."
That's your
And they're
answer
like,
for everything, isn't it?
"Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the end of the world, man." And she's like,
Like,
"No, we have an obligation to figure that." Like, you crazy,
oh,
bro?
you're crazy
No,
working with Frankenstein. And then you see who she's been working with all this time. And it's like, y'all
and it's
been
like,
down here how long?
oh,
A
how
month or two?
long? Yeah,
At least
it
a
went
month or
quick.
two, I'm
And then
assuming.
the other guy was like, "Yeah," and they were like, "Who are you contacting? Why aren't you doing your job? Why aren't you getting hold of anybody?" Yo, this broadcast system is from World War II. Nobody's listening, bro. Like nobody. And these signals only go so far. Maybe like 100-mile radius, like 1,000, even 1,000-mile radius. It's like, nah, we are isolated. There is nobody coming, bro. And it's like
I'm,
we're effed. We're just effed, and you guys haven't realized it yet.
no,
You know what I'm
no one
saying?
needs to be yelling. No
But
one
no,
needs to
wash.
be yelling.
No, but wash. No one's listening. You aren't listening.
No
So
one needs to
Romero,
be yelling in this situation.
no,
I get it. Yeah.
you aren't hearing what Romero is trying to tell you. So he's going to make everybody yell because the Earth is not hearing what his point, and it's just like why fight the tide at this point? You know what I mean? And even the doctor says Frankenstein is like, okay, buddy, you're all big and bad. Where would you go if you want to leave? You can leave, but where would you go? You got enough guns to fight thousands of these things? Are you going to kick all their asses? No. So shut up and let me figure this out. You're not figuring anything out, though. You're playing, like I said, he literally has a brain and a stem, and he's just poking at it. You know what I mean? And the female scientist is like, you're not doing anything. You're not trying to solve. You're solving the wrong. You're trying to solve the wrong thing. So we're already backwards. It just makes it more nihilistic.
It was a bad situation because it's like, all right, what are we going to do? I didn't even see any food, man. And this trapping system that they have for the zombies,
It
what
was
type
very
of
flawed.
whose freaking idea
Like,
was
what is
this?
that? That is the most dangerous idea. They
We
lost like
couldn't
it even
figure out
said we lost like
something
five
else.
dudes.
We
We
couldn't
lost
just
like
do
five
like a
dudes trying to
door where one could come in and the others could
like a
come out, and we
rotating
put up
door.
some boards, bro. Like what are we doing?
You can't
It's the
just get like a
70s.
we can't just get a subway rotator and just let
Oh
these foods
man.
go through it one at a time and close it one at a time.
Yeah.
This is the most dangerous shit. The beginning of the movie, they're like, "Yeah, we lost like 5 soldiers dealing with y'all, and we have no idea what you're doing. We're kind of mad. We're kind of mad about it because we want to leave, and you're not giving us a solution on how to leave. And you've been kind of yanking our chain this entire time. Please tell us what you're doing. It's not ready yet. Mm-mm, not ready yet. We're just gonna
and
keep."
to lose and to lose 5 soldiers working in that type of condition, I would be upset as well. It's like this is the best we're doing here, and
Mhm.
being the Romero shot film, like there was a total of like 3 rooms. You know what I mean? So it's like they're
Yeah,
all living in these like 3 rooms, and it's like
tight.
this isn't a big spot. This isn't a big space. Like so, there were
Like
there were some holes in some aspects of that nature where it's just like, what are we doing in a zombie apocalypse? Like, what was
you
our
can
plan?
you can almost feel the budget in this one because Dawn of the Dead was such wide. It was a big old shopping mall to play in. You got these aerial shots of the country, and there was the one scene where they were doing the truck run, and homeboy got touched because he was an idiot. You know what I'm saying? And it's so wide, and this film is so claustrophobic because you're underground. You don't see light. You don't see day. You barely see it from. The only time you see light is the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie. That's
Yeah.
it. Everything is in this one enclosed spot, which builds tension because everybody's getting on their nerves. Yeah, I want to talk about that one character who was just having the biggest stress. He was having the biggest stress meltdown the
Oh
entire
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
My
He was
man
having
was
a bad
having a
day.
full breakdown. He slapped the homie twice and then hugged her, bro. And he was just like, he's like, this guy is. You got to keep an eye on this dude. They're like, nah, he's the homie, dog. He's good. No, he's literally going to break down. He's a danger to us all. No, he's good. We need him. And my man is over here shaking. He's like Gil from The Simpsons, dog. He's just like not ready for anything that's gonna happen. He ends up being like a liability, bro. It's like this whole movie is so nihilistic. It's more like to me, it's more nihilistic than the other two. There's no hope with this film.
But
To be
there's no
truthful,
hope. But there's no hope because there's no communication. It's like we talked about this just ironically last podcast about the zombie apocalypse and that coming for you. Like you gotta choose your zombie environment very carefully, man. And it's
mhm.
like if you're in a room with nine other people that, well, six of them are just gonna yell, two of them are idiots, and then two of them are scientists. It's like, yeah, this
We're
isn't
not
gonna
gonna make
work.
it.
We're not gonna
And
make it. We're not
and
gonna
what
make it. It honestly, bro, probably did them all a favor bringing all the zombies in. Because frankly, once they got out, it wasn't gonna get better for
it wasn't getting no better, man.
'em.
And,
No, man.
and this movie has a lot more in common than Night because one thing about Dawn, is that they had communication. They were working together quite well for a long until the Raiders came and jacked everything up. You know what I mean? They were getting along. And Night
Yeah,
of the Living
until the
Dead,
flyboy went off hilt. The helicopter pilot went off hilt and was like, "Oh no, I got to take these dudes out." It's like we were all getting out of here, bro.
yeah, we were all good to go. We had to figure it out. And it's like I never forget Cooper in Night of the Living Dead was the big asshole. He, of course, he was the contrarian. Me and my dog, fighting Dwayne Jones the whole damn time. So there had to be a miscommunication there. And this movie was miscommunication, the movie, because you have these meatheads who aren't listening to anything, who have guns and are violent, and these scientists. It's almost like Revenge of the Nerds. You know what I mean? It's like these two ecosystems can't exist this close together because it just breeds mayhem. You
Not in
know,
this situation. Not in this specific situation. Bad situation for that.
bad situation. So we're kind of talking about it. And before we close out for the evening, we just got to talk about the trilogy as a whole. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. I just think this is one of the most iconic horror trilogies, if not the most iconic horror trilogy of all time. Um, I'm pressed to think about a better trilogy of horror movies that are just solid in their own respective way. Not Freddy Krueger, not Nightmare on Elm Street, not Friday the 13th, not Aliens, not any of that. This is one of the most solid thought pieces of all time. What are your thoughts about the trilogy as a whole?
I think that Romero Goat, um,
Go.
his mark is on these films unlike other other horror films have been marked. You know what I mean? You can't look at three individual Freddy movies or three individual Jason movies or Halloween movies and go, yeah, these three have the marking of this director. They smell, feel, taste like this director. And that's what Romero gives us in these three, which is why I'm very interested for the subsequential, the ones
Sequential,
afterwards,
yeah.
um, Land of the Dead, and those three, because I'm curious if they have the exact same flavor as these do, as far as storytelling and their overall message that they're going for. From opening shot of Land or Night to the closing shot of
Day.
Dawn, Day. Damn it. It's like a beautifully written story, and it's a beautifully shot, like horrific of stressful event. If you had to shoot a horrific event happening, this is how it would be shot from all three. And do they line up, as we'd like to see them in 2025? Everything's in its own world. No, they don't necessarily line up back to back to back like that, but I don't think they have to. They can be three individual cap shots within this one world, and I think it works just fine.
That is an excellent point. That's an excellent point. You actually derailed me from my original talk part. Is that this is such a contrast of what we consider sequential content in 2025, right? This isn't the Romero cinematic universe where they have to find the gun of Barbara. You know what I'm saying? It has to be the skeleton of, oh man, I found the skeleton of Bub in this sequel. You know what I'm
All right.
saying? It's not, it doesn't have to be that over your head.
Bub's
This is this
phone has the code on it.
Bub's phone has the code on it. Thou get us through Diary of the Dead. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Like it's not such a. It doesn't have to be so interwoven. It's almost the perfect universe, right? This is the first cinematic universe where it's all going on at different points of the same world, but it's told from different point of views, different perspectives, different time frames, different situations. But it's all under the same umbrella of this is Earth, this is America, and this is what's happening.
I would say that the only other thing, and haven't seen the final yet, is 30 days, past 30 days, before 30 days, whatever that series is that I'm not remembering the name of.
28
Sorry,
days later,
spoiler.
all that good stuff.
28 days later. That's the only other series I think where we have kind of working in that same type of world in just completely different, you know, zones and areas of things that are happening. And that's kind of cool, man. Everything doesn't need to be peanut butter and jelly on top
Yeah.
of each other, perfectly mashed together. You know what I mean? You can throw a marshmallow and a Hershey's chocolate bar in there, and it's like, oh, well, this is good. This is good. Weird, but good.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I love the way he does it. He's like, you think, and the contrarian would say, oh, it's just the same story told three times. And it's like, no, there's different pressures, there's different stresses, there's different, even the events themselves are different. It's different circumstances. You know what I'm saying? And I want to mention the remake of Dawn of the Dead, the one that was done by Zack Snyder. Um, with Ving Rhames and stuff like that. Remember the remake of Dawn of the
George
Dead? Oh,
Clooney,
was that?
right?
No, it was Ving Rhames and a couple of people that were in that movie. The Dawn of the Dead remake that Zack Snyder did a little while
I
back.
re- I don't. I remember watching it.
Mind you,
I don't have it in my brain.
I'm horror brain. I wish I could talk horror more on this channel. You know what I'm saying? But I bring up that remake because it talks to, like you said, the other trilogy. Because there's the Romero did another trilogy. Like you said, there is the Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, and I think there's Final of the. I forget what the last one's called. The one he did before he passed away. But there's a separate
Survival of the Dead.
Survival of the Dead, where he did a separate trilogy, like a more modern. Like, where is the zombie apocalypse now after 30 years? You know what I'm saying? Um, and I haven't seen the final one. I've only seen Diary, and I've only seen um, Land. And Diary's told completely from a cell phone, which is weird, and it's told from the view of a cell phone camera, like very like. But Romero, it's a very interesting film. You know what I mean?
All
What
right.
did the guy say? If it's not on film, it didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like this. It's this like hot take on where Americans like priorities are. You know what I mean? It's such an interesting film. But just to talk about this Dead trilogy, I think this is one of the most perfect trilogies in film. And like you said, I think there's a lot to, and I remember my original idea, my original take was maybe it's because Romero had such carte blanche to do whatever he wanted to do and no interference to tell these stories, right? Like the big story on Day of the Dead was like, okay, Romero, we'll give you $50 million to make this movie, but it has to be an R. But we'll give you $13 million if and you can do whatever you want. And Romero said, "I take the 13. I'll make it work. F you. I want to tell my story." So he took the cut from the company and made whatever he wanted. And each film is its own guerrilla filmmaking from a single source. There's not a lot of chefs in this kitchen, so it's easier to tell a cohesive story in an incohesive way and still get your point across.
And it's a very unique style of storytelling too. You know what I mean? Like again, these the scenes, the violence, the horror, it doesn't necessarily ring as horror and violence, the violence does, but not so much the horror as in like scary. But it's very Romero in its texture, in its viscerality, in its feeling and overall tone, which would lead me to ask, you double back these, like, how do you feel after watching both of these? Like, are you in a happy? Are you like, damn? Are you like zombie? Like, how do you feel?
You know what? That's a very good question because I thought about that. I thought about, you know what my thought was after the end of my day, work day, and I watched all of Dawn and all of Day back to back for the very first time. This is a hell of a double feature, man. This is a great double feature, right? Like they flow together, but they're not the same. You got your gore, you got your yucks, you got your commentary. I didn't feel necessarily bummed out. I didn't feel woe is me. I didn't feel like it's the end of the world. I felt like this is a damn good story this man is telling. And we as humans need to get it to damn together. That's my biggest takeaway. Is that we need to get it together. Because all it takes is something like this, and we're just effed, because we don't have it together, bro. And I think that's his biggest takeaway is like, look at what we're doing to ourselves. No, I'm keeping the camera on the gore, the ugly parts. This is what we're doing to ourselves. I'm gonna keep my camera on the infighting. Yes, they're screaming. Listen to what I'm telling you. This is what we're doing to ourselves. And I think Romero's message is so strong in these three films because he was just so frustrated with the culture. Mind you, the civil rights movement was was hit because Martin Luther King died the night he finished this movie. He was feeling that. That was in the air. It permeated the
Yeah.
message. And then Dawn comes out and he's like, man, we're brain rot. We're brain rotted, man. All people want to do is go to the mall and spend money and consume. That's not right. I'm gonna make a movie about it. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy the way his brain worked in these three different commentaries on American culture. And before we go into the last slide, I want to say that he had a script for Land of the Dead already made, and then 9/11 happened. And he said, wait,
Ah,
he said, wait, I need to see what the new normal is. I'm going to trash the script. What's going on? I'm going to wait like 3, 4 years and see where
that's
we are as a
interesting.
culture.
That's
Then he wrote
interesting.
he wrote a brand new script for Land of the Dead because he was like, "Oh, this is going to change things," and it did.
That's interesting.
It changed everything. So
Mhm.
remember, I can't the goat, right? I can't
Yeah,
say
man.
enough about him. So one thing I like to do at the very end of all things, this has been a great double feature. I didn't want to versus this like a standard um, random select, right? But what I like to ask you, watch is after watching both of these films, is there a film that you enjoyed more than the other at the end of the day?
I will say, and I was in agreement with you, is a really good double feature that, if you want to sit down with your date and go ahead and make some popcorn, get something to eat, some treats, some snacks during Halloween, you can most certainly do that. And these are two good films to just kind of kick back and relax to. I will say that I enjoyed Dawn of the Dead more as a film, but I enjoyed Day of the Dead more as a horror film.
Mm.
Day of the Dead, unfortunately, the yelling kind of got to me. So
Ah,
that was just rough. It was just rough. Like, it was just rough. I can't get screamed at for 2 hours, but I did, and it's fine. But Dawn of the Dead told a more cohesive story. But Day of the Dead, like when they're dealing with the zombies coming up, and it's not necessarily terrifying. The apartment scene's terrifying in Dawn, but trying to handle a zombie with like a neck thing and having this burnt out dude next to me, dude screaming at me like, nah, that's all a bit stressful. And then you walk around in the Dr. Frankenstein's office and you got this nut job hanging out. Nah, this is more of a horror movie to me.
Very good choice. Very good choice. And it's funny. I watch a lot of horror anthologies. I watch a lot of horror like documentaries, and what they say is that the film buffs love the intellectual and the approach of Dawn of the Dead, but the Gremlins love Day of the Dead. You know, the fucking Gremlins, dude. Like the blood soaked horror nerds. You know, because they is the Savini effects perfected. Day is Savini. I say it again. Day is Tom Savini effects perfected. He figured it out, and that's when he. You know what? C'est la vie, right? Um, but for me, it's I can understand why the community is so split between these two. Because if you ask anybody what's better, dawn or day, you're going to get a different answer from the same guy on different days of the week.
I just gave you two different answers, and I'm
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? I didn't necessarily pick one. I
yeah,
picked two different features from each that made one for me.
yeah. You know, and I'm right there with you. It's like to me, I'm opposite. Like Dawn of the Dead is a
Uh,
scarier film than Day of the Dead to me. Dawn of the Dead felt too real to me, like the news reporters, the scrambling of that opening scene um with the damn like apartment building felt real, and it kind of started to get to me in an open space while I'm working half, like I'm still feeling it, like, oh, that's I don't like it, I don't like it, I don't like it, whereas Day of the Dead was more comedic almost because they were yelling, they were diffusing the tension with all the screaming, the overacting, and the, what I'm saying, just verbosity of that film. Everybody is everybody's acting their ass off in that movie. You know what I'm
is
saying?
it?
Like there's no subtlety. There's no subtlety to it. But that's part of its charm. You know what I mean? It's really like a alien versus aliens type thing where it's like, don't make me pick my babies. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't make me pick.
I will pick night over both.
That's not fair. This is a double feature. You can't pick night, bro. That's not fair. Of course you pick night, bro. Shut up. No, we're not doing that.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? Spaghetti or me, spaghetti or pizza.
All
I want a
right.
burger. No, it don't work that way, bro.
All
So if I
right.
had to pick one, it's so tough. I can't pick, bro. I will pick Dawn if you held a gun to my head, because
Ooh.
Dawn is the one I want to watch again. Dawn is the
Yeah.
one I'm quick to, like, I must have missed something. I want to see that opening scene again. I want to the I want to see the more of the Dead Rising isms in it. I want to
I
pick up
want to
more.
play Dead Rising. That's what I want to do.
Yeah,
I feel like firing up Dead Rising and just going through that because it's the
yeah.
same type of tension. You know what I mean? Dead
Frank
Rising is
West
not an
was
easy
there.
game.
No, it's tough. Frank West was there, bro. He was in this movie somewhere, floating around with his camera. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? He was just
I gotta
there.
know. I bet you he's
Yeah,
there. I bet you
he's
he's
there.
there.
He's there in spirit. There's a character. There's somebody, and one of the Capcom, the creator of Dead Rising, was like Frank West, and he just created the character automatically. Um, this was one hell of a double feature, man, and that brings us to the end of this episode, the MOTN Halloween special review of Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, man. Um, this was such an interesting watch for me because it's my absolute very first time horror version of these two films. Of course, you hear about them, you hear about the zeitgeist, you can't escape them, but sitting down and watching them in their totality is a completely different animal. And it's an experience that I'm happy I was able to share with you and share with the Nerdiverse, man. This was a very, very good first.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
absolutely. I loved it. Good double feature, good couple of films, good way to kick off Halloween and get the festivities kind of started and starting to feel in the spirit. And I do kind of think of UFOs and you have the aliens and zombies. Of those two things, we get one. You know, I don't know which
yeah.
one we're gonna get, but let's hope it's not zombies.
Zombie aliens. Oh shit, we're all gonna die. That's just isn't that just the thing?
Yeah, I
The thing is just
guess.
a zombie alien, dog.
I'm like,
Either way, we're screwed, bro.
yeah.
As I like to close these out, any last thoughts on the Romero verse, this double feature before we close this bad boy out?
Goat, glad we could do it. I will probably watch the next three. I will probably have to do that because, yeah, I'm gonna have to need to know how he ends all of this.
Absolutely. And you'll be able to catch that on MOTN Master of the Nerdiverse podcast, which we record on Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where Wash will double back if he does complete the Romero storyline. I'm sure he'll tell us all about it. This is the spooky season, so we're going to be talking about horror stuff and scary stuff and cotton candy and costumes. It's going to be a great month for MOTN. So I want to once again remind everyone to please like our content. Show us some love out there on YouTube. We need more views. Tell people more about us. Comment and let us know what you think. Do you prefer Day of the Dead? Do you prefer Dawn of the Dead? I'd love to know your thoughts out there, Nerdiverse. And lastly, subscribe so you know when new episodes come out and you'll be able to watch our lives and hang out with us and ask us questions directly. With that, I would like to thank everyone. I've, of course, been your host, Mike G. He's been the Jedi Counselor, Wash. And at that point, we're going to say MOTN out. Take care, everybody.